What if I told you that you're doing way better in life than you give yourself credit for? You might look around and think everyone else is ahead of you. But the truth is, there are hidden signs of progress that most people overlook. And if you spot them in your own life, it means you're not failing at all. In fact, you may be miles ahead without even realizing it. Let's be honest. We live in a world where comparison is almost impossible to escape. Social media has turned into a highlight reel, where everyone seems richer, happier, more successful, or more put together than we are. You see people buying houses, traveling to exotic places, launching businesses, or showing off their perfect families. And then you look at your own life and wonder if you're falling behind. That's a heavy weight to carry, and it makes you blind to the progress you're actually making. The truth is, doing better doesn't always look glamorous. It doesn't always come with loud applause or Instagram-worthy moments. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, and deeply personal, and that's why most people don't even realize how far they've come. Today, I want to slow things down with you and pull back the curtain on the hidden signs that you're doing much better than you think you are. Because once you recognize these signs in your own life, you'll see that success isn't about looking like everyone else. It's about the steady growth and strength that's been building inside you all along. Think back to the version of yourself from a few years ago. What kept you up at night back then? What struggles felt like they would never end? Maybe it was a toxic relationship, a crushing debt, a health battle, or simply feeling stuck with no direction. Now look at where you are today. Even if everything isn't perfect, you've overcome challenges that once seemed impossible. You've survived heartbreaks that you thought would break you. You've handled responsibilities you once prayed you could handle. Growth isn't always about leaping forward. It's about those little victories you've already lived through. If you stop and really measure the distance between who you were and who you are right now, you'll see progress written all over your story. And the fact that you're still here, still trying, still pressing forward, is proof that you've already won battles your past self couldn't have imagined. That's a sign of strength. And it's something many people overlook because they're too busy comparing their journey to someone else's highlight reel. We often think progress is about giant milestones, landing a dream job, buying a house, or hitting a financial goal. But some of the biggest signs you're doing better than you think are hidden in the small, ordinary parts of life. Are you paying your bills on time now, when before it felt overwhelming? Do you get through days that used to drain you without breaking down? Even waking up with more peace than you had a year ago is a quiet victory. Progress rarely looks like fireworks. Most of the time, it's like the slow growth of a tree. You don't notice it day to day, but one morning you realize the branches have stretched farther. The roots have dug deeper, and you're not who you used to be. Don't dismiss those everyday victories. They're proof that your life is moving forward, even if the pace feels small. The truth is, what feels like just surviving in one season becomes the foundation for thriving in the next. Think about how you handle problems now compared to years ago. Maybe before, one setback would send you spiraling. An argument with a friend, a bad grade, a mistake at work. But now, even if those things sting, you don't stay stuck in them as long. You breathe, you pray, you figure out your next step, and you keep moving. That's growth. That's resilience. It doesn't mean you never feel stress or sadness, but it means you don't let those emotions control you the way they used to. You've learned to bend without breaking. That's a huge sign you're stronger than you realize. The fact that you can face what life throws at you and still stand is proof that you're building emotional and spiritual muscles you may not even see in yourself yet. Another big sign you're doing better than you think is that you're starting to let go of the need for everyone's approval. Maybe in the past, you shaped every decision around what other people thought of you. You'd overthink, replay conversations in your head, and stress about whether you came across the right way. But now, You're beginning to live more from your own values instead of someone else's expectations. You're realizing that no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion, and that's okay. You don't need to explain or justify every little choice. The more you stop chasing validation, the more peace you find inside yourself. And that shift is massive. It means you're maturing, you're building confidence, and you're starting to live with freedom. Sign number 6 is that you've been through storms and you're still standing. Think back to the hardest season of your life. Maybe it was a breakup. Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe you had financial struggles. Or maybe you went through a time when you felt completely alone. At the moment, it might have felt like you wouldn't survive it. But here you are. You may have some scars, but scars prove you healed. The very fact that you've endured tough seasons and came out stronger means you're doing better than you think. Strength isn't built in easy times. It's forged in the fire. Every challenge that tried to break you only ended up proving how resilient you really are. And when you look back, you realize you're not as fragile as you once thought. You're a lot tougher and wiser than you give yourself credit for. Sign number 7 is that deep down, you haven't given up on hope. Even if life feels heavy, even if things aren't perfect right now, there's still a small part of you that believes tomorrow can be better. Hope is what keeps you moving when everything else says stop. The fact that you still dream, still pray, still imagine a brighter future shows that you're not stuck. You're moving forward. Most people lose hope long before they lose anything else. But you haven't. You still believe that there's a purpose for your life, that the pain you've gone through wasn't wasted, and that something good is waiting on the other side. That spark of hope inside you is proof you're further along than you realize, because as long as hope is alive, your future is alive too. Now let's be honest. The biggest challenge here is that we don't often feel like we're doing well. We compare ourselves to people online, to neighbors, to friends, and it feels like everyone else is ahead while we're falling behind. That comparison trap makes us blind to the quiet victories happening in our own lives. You could be healing from a heartbreak, fighting through depression, or rebuilding your finances. And because it doesn't look flashy, you dismiss it as nothing. But those are huge wins. The problem is that our culture only celebrates loud success. New jobs, big houses, perfect bodies, while the quiet kind of success goes unnoticed. And if you're not careful, you'll let those outside voices drown out the truth of how much progress you've already made. That's the challenge. Learning to measure yourself by the right standards, not by someone else's highlight reel. Here's the thing, once you recognize that comparison is stealing your joy, you can start shifting your focus. Instead of measuring yourself against someone else's timeline, look at where you were a year ago. Think about the nights you cried yourself to sleep, and now you sleep in peace. Think about the job you prayed for, and now you're showing up every day, even if it's not perfect. Think about the way your faith has deepened, the way you handle problems with more patience now than you did before. Those are signs of growth that no one else can measure for you. The Bible says in Galatians 6:4, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else. That verse is powerful because it tells us progress isn't about matching someone else's story. It's about faithfully walking your own. Another sign you're doing better than you think is how you handle failure. Failure used to knock you flat, maybe even make you want to quit everything. But now, you bounce back. You learn the lesson, you dust yourself off, and you keep moving. That's strength. That's growth. The Bible shows us this clearly in Proverbs 24:16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Rising again doesn't mean you never stumble. It means you don't stay down. Every time you get back up, you're proving to yourself and to the world that failure doesn't define you. And if you've been through setbacks recently, but you're still pressing forward, that's a sign you're on the right track, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Another powerful sign you're doing better than you think is the kind of people you're attracting and keeping around you. Look at your circle. Are you drawing people who bring peace, encouragement, and challenge you to grow? Or maybe you've noticed that you've slowly drifted away from toxic relationships that once drained you. That shift says a lot. When your spirit starts to change, your company changes too. The Bible reminds us in 1 Corinthians 15:33, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." So if you find yourself surrounded by healthier, kinder, more uplifting people, even if it's just one or two, that's a sign you're walking in a new direction. Sometimes you don't even realize you've grown until you look at the friendships that now feel natural compared to the ones you've left behind. Sign number 6, that you're doing better than you think, is how you handle setbacks. Think back to a few years ago. Maybe a small failure or disappointment would have knocked you down for weeks. But now, you bounce back quicker. You pray, you process, you get up and keep moving. That's resilience. And it's something most people don't notice about themselves because they're too focused on the pain of the moment. But resilience is proof that you're stronger than before. Proverbs 24:16 says, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." Rising again doesn't mean the fall didn't hurt. It means you didn't stay there. If you're getting up faster, dusting yourself off, and moving forward with faith, that's growth. That's progress. And it shows you're doing far better than you give yourself credit for. The 7th and final sign that you're doing better than you think is the presence of peace in your heart, even when circumstances around you are chaotic. It might not be a perfect peace, but you've noticed moments where you don't panic like you used to. Instead of spiraling in fear, you're learning to rest in the promise that Jesus is with you. That peace isn't natural. It's supernatural. Philippians 4:7 calls it the peace of Jesus, which surpasses all understanding. If you've ever found yourself calm in situations where you normally would have been overwhelmed, that's not a small thing. That's evidence that Jesus is working in you, shaping your spirit, and giving you strength beyond what you could create for yourself. Peace in the storm is one of the clearest signs that you're truly on the right track, even if you don't see it yet. When you put all these signs together, something powerful starts to happen. You realize that being better than you think isn't about having a perfect life, a fat bank account, or everything under control. It's about the small but steady changes happening inside you. You're forgiving quicker, showing kindness when no one's watching, keeping your faith alive when life is heavy, finding gratitude in the little things, serving without asking for anything back, growing even through failures, and carrying peace in the storm. These aren't things the world claps for, but they're the very markers of growth that Jesus sees and values. Sometimes you're so close to your own journey that you can't see the progress. But step back, and you'll realize the fingerprints of Jesus are all over your story. That's why you don't need to measure yourself against someone else's highlight reel. If these signs are showing up in your life, then you are further along than you think, and Jesus is faithfully leading you one step at a time. At the end of the day, the most important thing to remember is that growth doesn't always look flashy. Sometimes it looks like quiet prayers whispered when no one else knows what you're going through. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over arguing, or kindness over revenge. The fact that you're even asking yourself, "Am I doing okay?" shows that you care, that you're reflecting, that you want to grow. And that's a sign in itself that you're on the right track. Don't underestimate the little victories that Jesus celebrates with you. You may not see yourself as strong, but you're stronger than yesterday. You may not feel like you're making progress, but each step you've taken proves otherwise. So hold on to hope, because you're doing better than you think. and Jesus isn't done with your story yet.